Today on the 2020 Awards podcast, we're taking a look at Quiz Show, directed by Robert Redford and released in 1994.
Dad, I can't simply just tell them the truth.
Can't tell them the truth? Why on earth not?
It's complicated.
Complicated?
Yeah, I can.
Charlie, from what I understand, it's just this bunch of frauds showing off an erudition they didn't really have. All you have to do...
The problem is, Dad, it seems I was one of those frauds.
Back in the studio with us today is Brian McDonald. Welcome back, Brian.
Thanks for having me back.
I feel like I don't need to introduce you anymore. I feel like if anyone's listened to 2 of these episodes, they must know who you are by now.
There's always new people.
All right. Well, in that case, Brian is a filmmaker and screenwriter. He's authored several books on storytelling, including Invisible Ink, and he works as a consultant at the University of Washington, the feature animation department at Disney, and Pixar Studios.
All right. You know, I don't think it's right for a person like myself to go, I think I need no introduction. I don't think, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I don't think people.
But I was the one who said it, so.
Yeah. But I considered it. It scares me.
Ironically, nobody knows who the hell I am. So, anyway, we're going to talk about Quiz Show. Quiz Show was adapted for the screen by Paul Do you know how you say this guy's name?
Attanasio, I think.
We'll
I don't know.
that.
Maybe he'll call in and tell us.
Yeah, Paul, if you're listening, call us and let us know if we screwed up your name. It was written for the screen by Paul Attanasio from the true story based on the book Remembering America, A Voice from the 60s, written by Richard Goodwin.
Who's married to Doris Kearns Goodwin.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. That makes sense now.
Yeah.
I wonder if they sit around and talk about Lincoln a lot.
They might. Anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's interesting tidbit.
Yeah.
There you go. The story is set in the 1950s. Quiz Show follows the unraveling of the hit game show 21. The wheels come off of the game show when their all-time leading contestant, played by John Turturro, is asked to take a fall and make way for the new golden boy, played by Ray Fiennes. Turturro begrudgingly agrees to do so, but his pride gets the better of him as he draws attention from a congressional investigator played by Rob Morrow. I know you're a big fan of this film.
Yeah.
I was not when I originally saw it.
Okay.
But I respect your taste, so I was actually kind of eager to revisit this film and see how I feel. But tell me why. What was the first time you saw it? Did you see it in the theaters?
I did see it in the theaters.
Yeah.
I had seen a documentary about the Quiz Show scandal. Mm-hmm. And there have been 2 times when I've seen documentaries. I think it was a PBS documentary.
It's probably American Experience, right?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And I had seen that, I think. And I think that was before the movie, if I am remembering correctly.
Yeah.
And I think I saw that and went, hey, this would make a pretty good movie.
Right.
Which I also did with the Seabiscuit documentary. So
you should get on that.
I should get on that, yeah. Gary Ross makes all the movies I want to make. That's his his superpower is tapping into my brain in the future and then making the movie I want to make.
Right.
But I really liked it. I was married at the time and my wife did not want to see the movie and then totally dug it and liked it and was surprised because it takes something that shouldn't be interesting on its surface. It's a quiz show scandal. Ooh, they're lying on a quiz show. There's nothing right. But it finds a way to make it very human and make it matter because it's very human. It's not a big important thing that people are getting answers on a quiz show. Right.
Yeah.
But making it personal made it important. I was impressed by that. A lot of people let their subject overwhelm the real story.
Yeah.
You know, they go, it's a quiz show scandal, it's history, and then they tell it to you like it's history, not like it's a story that happened to people.
That's funny. I think, like, watching it again the other day, I kind of was reminded of, there's a couple things that are the reason I think I couldn't quite get into it and didn't have that yearning to see it again. I think that's kind of one of them for me. I feel like it's almost not personal enough. I feel like it's playing with the themes more than the characters.
Oh. I don't feel that way, but...
Yeah.
I guess I can see what you mean. I don't quite feel that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll get into that.
Well, let's get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, why don't we just start with the technical categories? Sound design, anything there?
No. I mean, there were a couple of times when I noticed. There's one time when Turturro's wife is mad at him, and there's a nice subway sound, a la Godfather.
Yeah.
Nice subway I'm talking about The Godfather. It was Walter Murch, I think, who did that.
Yeah.
But who did the sound design for this movie?
I don't know. There's a bunch of people.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I thought it worked. There were a couple of times, you know what? It actually did work because they would, when they're in the soundproof booths, where it has to be quiet.
Yeah.
It's sort of a lack of sound or just
Right.
breathing.
Right.
Actually, I thought it was really well done,
Yeah.
and it pulled you in rather than out. But
Yeah.
yeah, I thought that was well done.
Yeah. Along those same lines, I think the makeup
Oh yeah.
works really well.
The way makeup works really well, costumes work really well.
Yeah.
I believed every person was the people they were supposed to be in terms of their costumes, in terms of their makeup.
And again, the costumes, you see a lot of stuff. I'm always a big fan of this, where you've got the Ray Fiennes character, he's the golden boy, as I said, and his costume fits impeccably.
Oh yeah.
And then you've got Turturro, who's sort of the sap in the story.
Yeah.
And his suit is too big for him.
Yeah, it's kind of schlubby.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really nice.
Yeah, and those are such subtle things that can leave such a big impression on the audience. I
think so. I think it's one of those things that it registers, but it doesn't register consciously.
Right.
Yeah.
The art direction was by John Hutman.
Mm-hmm.
Again, same thing.
Yeah, very nice. It's actually, there's a sort of a slick quality to the whole piece.
Yeah.
And sometimes I think a slick look can be distracting. Sometimes people will talk about beautiful photography or something.
Yeah.
Or beautiful costumes or something. And I often feel like those things can steal focus. It's like, was it appropriate?
Right.
Appropriately beautiful? But I felt like this was appropriately polished, if that makes any sense.
I agree with you, except I was just going to say the cinematography, which was done by Michael Ballhaus. To me, I felt like sometimes like it was too polished. Like I wanted to see more shadows at some point.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get that.
Because there's so much stuff happening in the shadows.
Yeah, I get that.
In the story, that it would have been nice to just kind of reflect that a little bit.
I get that. I wonder what the philosophy behind it was, because what's interesting is that we have an idea of the 50s.
Yeah.
Depending on which 50s you're talking about,
right?
Because you can talk civil rights 50s,
Sure.
you can talk, right? Depending on what 50s. But the 50s as a country
It's
seem
the
to...
greatest time in the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. As
Yeah.
we embrace it. And so I think it's interesting to say...
Happy days.
Yes. Happy days.
Yeah.
Depending on who you were and where you lived. Right. Yeah. So I think that polish is kind of interesting up against what's really happening.
Right.
Right. To have that sort of 50s ultra clean polish up against these corrupt.
Right.
So the philosophy seems solid. I don't know what their thinking was, but it feels like that to me. But I know what you mean about shadows. I tend to like stuff that has shadows. That's why I like Gordon Willis so much.
Right.
Probably my favorite DP.
Yeah.
Right. So I totally get what you mean.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's so much of this. I mean, the whole story is about basically, hey, we want you to take a fall. You're going to give the wrong answer. We're going to feed you the right answers. And it's like all this stuff that's happening underneath the surface.
Right.
Would have been nice to just have some of that stuff.
I don't know. I just think that's a choice.
Yeah.
That you would have made versus Redford in a way, or Ballhaus. I mean,
Redford and I have made many different choices in our lives. No one's to say who made the right ones and who made the wrong ones.
No one is. You know what? It's it's anybody. You know, there's different opinions on it.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean? I don't know if I don't feel like it was wrong. There are other times when I know exactly what you're talking about, and I can understand what you're talking about. I didn't feel it here, but I get it. I get it.
Editing was done by Stu Linder. Now, I felt like the movie drags a little bit in the third act. And I don't know if that's a script issue or if it's an editing issue. There's something for me about, like, once, like, they've kind of, like, nailed it, this congressional hearing feels like it goes on and on.
Oh. There is a point with the congressional hearing. You know what it is? They tied up every single character.
Yeah.
I'm with you about that. But I don't think... Yeah, there were the producers of the quiz show, and you got to see them. They weren't important. That's actually a thing. They weren't important.
Yeah.
What was important was Van Doren.
Yep.
And Turturro's character, Herb Stemple. Those guys were important.
Yeah.
So I think that once it might have been a thing where it's like I don't know. It's just once the golden boy tells the truth, the movie's kind of over.
Right.
And I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
But that's only a few minutes.
Probably.
You know what I mean?
I think you're right. I mean, it's like I've only seen it twice. And
yeah, it's not that long, but I get it. They didn't need to tie up those loose ends. And as a matter of fact, they probably could have had some of that happening in dialogue over the end credits, practically.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
TV's gonna, whatever they say, there's some conclusion they come to.
Right.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. I get that.
Yeah.
But that seems minor to me, especially now when people can't tell a story very well.
Well,
most
yeah.
of the time.
Yeah.
It seems minor
Yeah.
to me. It may have seemed more major at a different time when I think
Right.
the quality of filmmaking was a little higher.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Score by Mark Isham.
And I have to say, sometimes it stood out.
Yeah.
Sometimes it stood out.
Yeah.
It wasn't bad. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say it was bad. For the most part, though, I think I can't recall it.
I can't recall it either.
I can recall a couple of cues, but I really can't recall it very much. So it probably worked really well. That's a good sign.
Exactly.
Unless you're John Williams. Some people hate John Williams, but
That's another show.
That's another show. I'd be happy to sing the praises of John Williams any day of the week.
Yeah. Song. Actually, there's a great track in this, which is "Back the Knife."
Mac the Knife is good in the movie. Yeah. It's in the title sequence is Mac.
And
the Knife.
the credits.
Yeah.
So, screenplay by Paul Attanasio.
Yeah.
Please, Paul, seriously, call us if we're screwing this up.
I think he's a good writer. I think this is the best thing. And from what I understand, this is his favorite. And it's his first screenplay.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's his first screenplay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. It's nice. It's a nice. Now, first screenplay. I'm using Hollywood lingo. They say first screenplay when you sell one.
Yeah.
But you wrote 20.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It did happen fast for him, though. He did have a fast rise. He's one of those guys who, like Robert Benton, the stuff that he doesn't write sometimes is the most beautiful stuff. Mm-hmm. Robert Benton, who wrote Kramer versus Kramer and directed Kramer versus Kramer and Places in the Heart.
Yeah.
The stuff that guy doesn't write is gorgeous. And the stuff that Paul Attanasio, whatever his name is, writes is
We'll just call him Paul.
Paul.
Stuff that Paul writes.
We'll call him Paul, like we're pals. The stuff that Paul writes is there's one point where Richard Goodwin, who wrote the book but is also a character in the story, is doing some investigation, and he goes to talk to John Turturro.
No, thanks.
Lester, will you knock it off for 10 minutes? Come on, they're a Jewish delicacy. Before Toby eats it.
I'm retaining water for your information.
You and the Grand Coulee Dam. Come on, you don't know what you're missing.
I'm quite familiar with Rugler, thank you.
How'd a guy like you get into Harvard?
Because it was when he realized, oh, wait, you're Jewish.
Right.
How did you get into Harvard?
Yeah.
It's really, really nice because he doesn't say, but you're Jewish. He just says, there's just that
how did a
pregnant
guy like
pause.
you?
Yeah. It's really, really beautifully not written.
Yeah.
I really, and there's a few things like that.
Yeah, I was going to say there's the other scene where he goes to visit Van Doren at the country club.
Yeah.
What's the special?
It's the Reuben.
Reuben sandwich is the only entirely invented sandwich. Won the National Sandwich Contest 2 years ago.
A salient point. Who invented it?
Reuben K. at a poker game in Omaha.
I knew there was a K in Nebraska.
Unfortunately, they have the sandwich here, but I don't seem to have any Reubens.
Just real nice. The stuff he doesn't write is pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
He lets you connect dots in a really nice way.
Yeah.
So that's one thing I like about his writing, appreciate about his writing. What's underneath, what's happening underneath.
Yeah.
The subtext. His scenes are always about what people aren't saying.
Right.
And that's pretty nice. He's
Yeah.
really good at that. Also, it's there's a nice focus with the Golden Boy with Charles Van Doren. Because Charles Van Doren, it's interesting because he turns out he's good at these quiz shows. He's watching one on TV when you see him introduced.
Yeah.
And he's good at it. And so he tries to be on one show tic-tac-toe.
Tic-tac-toe, yeah.
And then they see, because they're looking for a new guy, because they're trying to get rid of Herb Stempel, so they're looking for a new guy, and he's perfect. He's from a famous family, and he's this, blonde, blue-eyed, tall, very American, in quotes, looking dude. So they get him, and they're talking to him. They're interviewing him about, like, hey, you want to be on our show? You want to be on 21? And they start talking to him about his history, and he says that he wrote a book about a patricide. And the guy, they're like, what? And he's like, it's a patricide about a guy who kills his father, right?
Right.
And that the movie is about a guy essentially killing his father through this lying, through this,
right?
Yeah. So it's not random. Nothing's random. Now Charles Van Doren probably really did write that book, right? I'm sure he didn't make that up.
Yeah.
But to include it, to know to include it,
yeah,
is really smart.
Yeah.
Because Van Doren's father, Mark Van Doren?
Yeah.
Yeah. Has expectations for his son. His son is going to follow him in his footsteps and be a teacher, professor, right? Yeah. Do all that's the way he sees his son's life playing out.
Yeah.
And in fact, when he confesses to his father what he's done,
I'm an old man. It's all a little difficult for me to comprehend.
It's television, Ted. It's just television.
You make it sound like you didn't have a choice.
What was I supposed to do at that point? Disillusion the whole goddamn country?
Charlie, you took the money.
Yes, I know. Yeah, I took the money.
Is that what this was about?
No, I don't know.
It was a goddamn quiz show, Charlie.
An ill-favored thing, sir.
This is not the time to play games.
Not mine own. It was mine.
Your name is mine.
Right, like you've slandered us all.
Right.
Anyway, but really nice because you see at the very end, his father is disappointed, but okay. At the very end, he hears that Charles Van Doren's been fired from his teaching job. And it's like he almost dies right there. You see the father almost die. Like it's the worst thing. It looks like he's having a stroke.
Yeah.
It's like the worst thing. What? No, he can't teach.
Yeah.
This is the worst thing in the world. Really, really nicely done. And that thread is all the way through.
Yeah.
And there's also something I guess that the Van Dorens used to do for real, which is there's a birthday party scene, and they have this Shakespeare quiz off,
right?
where somebody will say a line from Shakespeare, and then you have to guess which play, which character, I guess. And
we do that at my place.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, that game everybody plays. You
don't need to explain this.
I think everybody's familiar.
Everybody's playing this game.
But all of the quotes that he pulled all have to do with what's going on in the piece.
Right.
So all have to do with honesty or truth, or and honesty comes up a ton.
Yeah.
In the piece. It's always there. And there's a great scene with the older Van Doren, and he's talking to some students. It's the scene just before Charles Van Doren confesses to his father, right? So there's an opening that's supposed to be kind of a throwaway, like, oh, here's the dad and he's teaching, and then his son comes in. But he's talking to these young students about Don Quixote, and they're like, and they're like, I just don't see how this guy, this old man, fighting windmills can think he's a knight. And the older Van Doren says, it means if you want to be a knight, act like a knight. Right. It's really nice. It's perfect. Like there's just the precision of his writing is impressive to me.
Yeah.
I tend to like everything to be very focused, and I tend to like. Actually, I was talking to Eric Aho, composer that we know, who I think has been on the show. He's been on the show, Eric Aho, and we were talking about melody. I was staying with him because I was staying with him for a little while. Anyway, so we were talking
because of the murder.
I needed a place to lay low.
Isn't the way you said it? It's like, oh, never mind why I was saying that. I thought I just cleared that up.
Thanks. Yeah. Anyway, but I was staying in LA, and he said, "Oh, you can stay in my guest house." So I was there. So I like to talk to him about music stuff and music theory when I'm around him. And he was talking about how he learned how to write melody. and I've actually incorporated this into my classes since I had this talk with him. But he said he used to write melody, and he kind of showed me how he did it, and it tended to not be very. It wasn't that melodic, right? And he said an older composer, a Hummy Man actually, said, "Well, you're not repeating enough," and so then he started to repeat musical ideas, and when he started to repeat those ideas, his melodies got stronger. And when I started thinking about those musical ideas and the repetition, the strong musical ideas are just repetition. So bum 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 bum.
Yeah.
Bum bum. Nothing. No change. That's it. You know. Bum 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 bum, and it goes on and on. Bum 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 bum. Right.
Yeah.
Or bum 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 bum. Right. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It just keeps going, and there's something that there's a quality to that kind of repetition, and storytelling has that same thing.
Yeah.
And if you can repeat an idea over and over again, they do with honesty. They do with killing your father. They do with acting like a knight. He does that so well that it worms its way into your subconscious in an interesting way,
right.
And it sticks with you in an interesting way. And so sort of the least complicated music, like bum 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 bum, right. It's not complicated in that way. It's hard to be that simple.
Yeah.
But it's not complicated. It's not a complicated musical idea to grasp.
Right.
It sticks with you for a couple hundred years. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
If you're lucky enough to live that long.
If you're, but you know what I mean. It sticks in people's heads. And so I think that one of the things I find when I'm teaching is that people are afraid to have that kind of repetition.
Right.
I just had a scene where the guy talks about killing his father. I got to do this too. And in fact, in the birthday scene, it's the dad's birthday. It's where they have that Shakespeare off. He also has a birthday cake. I think it says "Happy Birthday, Father."
Yeah.
Right. And at one point, as a transition, they show the cake being cut.
Right.
And it's a knife going right into the father.
Right. Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's gorgeous. It never forgets what it's about.
Yeah.
That's why I like it. It doesn't forget what it's about. And there's also the Richard Goodwin character who is Jewish, but sort of wants to not be Jewish. I mean, maybe not doesn't want to not be Jewish, but sort of aspires to sort of he has waspy aspirations, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Harvard's part of that, I think, right?
Yeah.
And he wants to fit into this country club. So when he goes and hangs out with the Van Dorns, it's like this kind of like I'm hanging out with the she. It actually blinds him. He doesn't want to hurt Van Dorn. He doesn't want to bring him into the hearings. He doesn't want to hurt him. So because he's that's his aspiration to be.
Likewise, there's that scene where he goes to talk to the NBC executive.
Right.
And, I can't remember who starts it, but he's talking with the secretary, and she goes, "He's not going to be here today, Mr. Goodman." And he says, "Goodwin." And then, so he corrects her.
Right.
And then she once again says something Goodman.
Right.
And he once again corrects and says Goodwin.
Right.
So, yeah, he's constantly trying to be a Gentile.
Yeah. It's just it's an interesting thing that it's in there, and so that character's growth is all about letting go of that idea.
Yeah.
And Van Dorn's growth is about he even says it. Van Dorn has a famous family, and he gets a lot of praise and admiration for being part of a famous family, not for anything he's ever done. And so when he's confessing and he says, "I've flown too high on borrowed wings," right? That's what he's talking about. And it was like, I wanted to do something that was mine.
Yeah.
Even if it was cheating.
Right.
Right. Which is what I've been doing. I've been cheating. My dad's famous. My mom is famous. My uncle's famous. I'm sort of cheating. I'm running to the front of the line.
Right.
Right. I'm not actually doing anything.
Yeah.
And so, but admitting that is his growth. I thought that was really nice. I thought that those are hard things to put in a piece that is about a quiz show scandal. So I thought that it was layered and nuanced and focused. I really appreciated the writing of this
Yeah.
script. Yeah.
I definitely agree with that, and you actually pointed out a lot of things that I hadn't seen. Mm-hmm. I think maybe I was getting caught up in... So, for instance, the opening shot. Mm-hmm. We're at a automobile showroom.
Right.
It's a close-up of a headlamp. Mm-hmm. And the Goodwin character puts his hand on the hood of the car.
Yeah.
And kind of strokes it as he's walking along the length of the car. And then you see another hand come in, which belongs to the dealer.
Right.
And he kind of cleans it off.
Right.
With his handkerchief.
Right.
Sort of like it's been sullied by this non-Gentile.
Right.
And then he gets in the car and he's like, oh, yeah, see how it feels. And then they listen to the radio.
Yeah, turn on the radio.
Yeah. And do you remember what the broadcast...
Sputnik.
It's Sputnik, but they said something about something is rotten in America, or... what is it they say?
You know what? I can't remember the exact quote.
But there's something about America being sullied.
Right.
And so anyway, I kind of got off on the footing that, this is about like a subtle racism in the country.
Oh, right.
And then, the corruption and...
Right.
And the end of the movie is definitely sort of like NBC kind of gets a slap on the wrist.
Right.
Nothing really happens. And it's sort of like, well, we're all white and in cahoots here.
Right. Yeah, I didn't... Sputnik, they mentioned Sputnik again later. I think that opening is always a little problematic for me. Mm-hmm. That opening, and I don't know why. I'm sure there's a reason. It's not but there's something about it that feels very choreographed. The lines feel like lines.
Yeah.
It doesn't. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure exactly why you start there, except for the fact that the Rob Morrow character, Goodwin, has these aspirations.
Right.
It's sort of the car represents some kind of aspiration.
Yeah.
But I wonder if that couldn't have been done differently. As much as I like the piece, I wonder.
Yeah.
If that couldn't have been done.
Because, like I said, I think for me, it kind of like got me off on a whole different path.
I can see how
and so when I hear you talk about what you see the movie as being about, it's like, oh yeah, that's all in there. That makes sense.
Right.
The beginning of the movie doesn't.
Right. It doesn't. Right.
Offer that.
Right. Yeah. You can almost cut that off. You wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which is a bad sign in a way.
Right.
Right. If you cut it out and you wouldn't know the difference, then probably it shouldn't be in there, or maybe there's something about it that isn't working. Like maybe it would work with a tweak. I don't know what the thought process was.
Yeah.
But maybe there's something there that does work, and if you heard him talk about it, you'd go, "Oh, that makes perfect sense."
Right.
Maybe if you had done this instead of that, or whatever. But right after that, you see everybody running to their TVs to watch 21.
Right.
Trying to get home to watch 21. They're standing outside of a place that has a TV, because in the 50s, not everybody had a TV, to watch 21. And you see all the aerial antennas, like the whole world is watching this thing, or the whole country anyway is watching this show. That's a really nice beginning. Mm-hmm. You see the questions being taken out of the vault.
Yes.
Right. You're like, all that stuff is really beautiful. To Mac the Knife. It's a really beautiful opening sequence.
Yeah. They're brought in by police escort.
Right. So our view of this is, these are sealed. Everybody's watching this.
Right.
Like, it's actually, that's more focused.
Yeah.
Than that little prologue.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's really nice.
Yeah. The other thing about the script I wanted to bring up was that we talked about this a little bit the other day. There's a lot of dramatic tension that I feel like we don't have in modern films, because
so
in the scene where they tell him, we want you to take a fall.
Right.
And they say, we're going to ask you, what was the best picture winner of 1955?
Oh, right.
He goes, that's easy. It's Marty. Okay, you're going to get that wrong. And so when they bring up the question during the game, we're sitting there as the audience watching, like, is he going to say Marty or not?
Right.
Because he's like, everybody knows the answer to that. I'm going to look like an idiot if I say something other than Marty.
Right.
And so there's his pride, his ego is on the line.
Well, when they ask him, he begs, don't let it not be Marty. Ask me something I really don't know. Let me lose on a different kind of question.
Yeah.
Don't, please, not Marty. Marty was my favorite movie from 2 years ago. I don't know Marty. And as a matter of fact, when he's home, he asks his family, his wife and his kid, like, what won Best Picture in 1955? And they both say Marty.
Yeah.
Like it's like common knowledge. Right?
Yeah.
And if you know Marty, I think Marty's a lot like John Turturro. So I think that...
Right.
right.
Yeah.
So I think that's part of it too.
Yeah.
He's an underdog like me who,
Yeah.
you know, but you'd have to know Marty. But that's not important really unless you know Marty.
Yeah.
But
just that you know he's supposed to give that answer.
Right.
And actually, something I just realized too that is a nice coincidence probably. On the waterfront is about a guy who's supposed to take a fall.
Right.
It could have been somebody. It could have been a contender.
You're right, yeah.
So it's like, oh, yeah, there's a nice little parallel in there.
It is nice.
Yeah.
And he probably looked at the movies. Right. Yeah. And said, what movies came out?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, he's so focused.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's not an accident.
Yeah.
Right?
But that is what happened. I actually last night I went and watched the original 21 episode. Mm-hmm. And that is how it plays out.
That is how it plays. Yeah, it's
yeah.
true. So that's true. I did. That's right. That's right.
That's why I say it's a nice coincidence.
It is a nice coincidence.
Yeah.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Huh.
Anyway, it was nice to see sort of like, okay, we know what the correct answer is.
Right.
So
and we
now,
know everybody knows. Because they really, even during when he's supposed to answer the question, they cut to people in the control booth going, Marty, everybody.
Yeah.
Because other people who know. Yeah. Everybody knows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but it was nice to have that, like, what's he going to do?
Well, what's also nice about that is, it's actually the different thing it's the same thing. Because he's supposed to answer Marty. And then we cut to, so he answers.
Yeah.
Right? Then we cut to Van Doren.
Yeah.
And Van Doren gets a question he knows, which he talked about not getting.
Yeah.
So now it was, is this guy going to take a fall, right?
Right.
And is this guy going to take the bait, and is he going to answer, right?
Yeah.
So there's some tension there about what Van Doren will do because, you know, he's just as torn about what to do.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really they both have opposite things going on.
Yeah.
Will I win on purpose, or will I win falsely, or will I lose falsely?
Yeah.
It's that parallel is really pretty beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautifully done. It's beautifully realized. That's what happened, like you say.
Yeah.
But it's also beautifully told in the piece.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because sometimes things get lost, like because the truth is there. What I'm noticing is that if you're doing your job right as a writer, as a director, even really as a comic or as a photographer or anything, your job is primarily pointing.
Mm-hmm.
It's primarily, and an actor, look at this.
Yeah.
Right? Not commenting on it, but
Right.
making sure people are looking in the right place.
Right.
Look at this. Right? Because you can do it in life, right? If you see somebody who looks kind of goofy, or people watching is like, that guy with that hat, right?
Right.
You don't have to say what's with that hat. You can just point to
Look at that guy.
elbow the person next to you and go, check that out,
Yeah.
right? And they go, oh, the hat,
Yeah.
right. You don't have to comment on
Yeah.
it. And I find there's a lot of comments now, like, really look at this, or nothing at all, no direction, just a broad thing. I thought it just said, look at this.
Yeah.
Look at this parallel here.
Right.
Look at this thing here. I felt in that way it was really nice. It would just sort of elbow you and say, check that out. Look at this, right? With acting, it's like, look at this behavior. It's not how you should feel about it. That's what bad acting is.
Yeah.
This is how you should feel about the behavior you're looking at. No, but just look at this behavior. People will see. They'll see what you want them to see.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So anyway, directing is really directing. It's like directing the attention.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's, I think, what it is.
Yeah.
I thought they did that really well. He did, Robert Redford.
Well, speaking of Robert Redford,
Uh-huh.
let's talk about some performances.
Okay. All right. Okay.
There's not a lot of women in this.
There are not a lot of women in it.
So, I mean, if you're going to nominate somebody for Best Supporting Actress...
I liked his wife. Turturro's wife.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, she was good.
I thought she was great.
Yeah.
I thought she was invisibly good.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I believe she's that person.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's she probably didn't get noticed because you believe she's that person.
Right.
Yeah, I liked the Toby, whatever I thought she was really good. There's a scene where Herb Stimple comes home after being on 21. It's the first time we see him come home. And he's so happy that he won. He wants his wife to dance with me.
Yeah.
And they're having a little bit of a tiff. And he says, boy, things are really going to change around here. And she's like, you see her whole demeanor change. And she's like, well, what's going to change?
Yeah.
What's going to change? What do you mean everything's going to change around here? And you see, oh, you're going to leave me? Because, right. And she doesn't say that because, right, but that's what's going on. He's like, what are you talking about? It's just that we're going to have money and we don't have to deal with your parents. And, really, that was really nicely done. And she did an excellent job. That was a real moment. She had a lot of real moments, I thought.
Johanne Carlo, I think is the actress's name.
She was very good.
Yeah.
I would nominate her. She's not in it a lot.
Yeah.
But she is always real when she's in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supporting actor?
Well, you know what? Well, Scofield. Did Scofield win? He died like right after, I think.
Did he win?
He was nominated, I think.
Hold on.
He plays the dad.
I should really do some homework before I start recording these. He plays Mark Van Buren.
Van Doren.
I keep wanting to call him Van Buren.
Well, that's a different story.
That's the Van Buren boys. Whoever they are.
Was a president.
I know.
I think him. I think
he was nominated.
Yeah, but he didn't win.
You know what? I have this incorrect on my thing.
Oh, okay.
I'm really not prepared for this episode.
Anyway, Paul Scofield was really pretty brilliant.
He was fantastic.
He was brilliant.
Yeah.
And actually, though, there were a lot of brilliant... There's one guy. I don't know who this guy is. I'm sure he's in a lot of things. But he plays sort of the chairman. I think Chairman Harris is his name. And I think he's Rob Morrow's boss. And Goodwin's boss.
Oh.
And there's a scene where Richard Goodwin comes to him and he goes, well, I want to take on television or something. The guy's like, ooh, TV. And there was something about the way that guy delivered that line. It was dripping with subtext. I can't explain it, but he was good the whole time. He was, there was a whole story that guy didn't tell when he says, oh, TV.
Is this one of the guys sitting around the office?
This is, no, not one of those guys. This is he's like old. He's got sort of a southern draw.
Yeah.
He sort of presides over the hearings later.
Right.
I think that guy was brilliant.
Yeah.
He wasn't in it much, but I thought when he was in it, he was brilliant. I also thought the guy who played the NBC executive, the top guy, was scary brilliant.
Yeah.
Like that guy was frightening.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. He was frightening to me.
Yeah.
He actually frightened me. I'm still a little scared.
It'll be okay.
Yeah.
What about, I thought Paymer was good, David Paymer.
David Paymer was good.
Yeah.
Hank Azaria was also good.
Yeah.
I liked Hank Azaria in it, too.
Yeah.
They were both good, I thought.
They were the producers of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought they were both good.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some good performances in it. I mean,
yeah,
most people are good. I don't want to. I hate bagging on actors because it's. I think it's a hard job.
But here we go.
Well, here we go. Buckle your seatbelts. No.
Were you doing an impression of Rob Morrow?
Why? Did I do an accent?
You did an accent.
Oh. Well, I think that Rob Morrow was probably miscast.
Yeah.
And I think he was working hard on the accent, the Boston accent.
Yeah.
And I think that derailed his performance.
Yeah.
It seemed like he was so focused on that accent, which was wandering all over the place.
It was every accent under the globe.
Yeah. Yeah.
He sounded like Foghorn Leghorn in one scene. Speedy Gonzales in the next. Swedish Chef in another.
Yeah.
Oh, it was bad.
Yeah, it wasn't that good. So
yeah.
I feel bad. I kind of feel bad for him.
Yeah.
But he
I feel worse for me. I had to watch it.
Yeah. but it's a brave thing to do. He was working with people that were, other people were working at the top of their game.
Yeah.
And he was out of place.
Yeah.
It was probably a casting issue. I think the whole movie would have done better if somebody else had been in that part.
I mean, I hate to say it, but he almost brings that movie down. Like,
yeah, it's unfortunate.
yeah.
And if he's listening, I feel bad for saying it, but
Rob, we're sorry. Tell Paul Attanasio to call us.
But it felt like he was
Yeah.
out of his weight class in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
You can't fight with these guys. They're heavyweights.
Yeah. No, that is what it felt like. I
Yeah.
mean, it really was just sort of like, what are you doing in this movie?
Yeah.
It was one of these things is not like the other.
It really did feel like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But everybody else, Ray Fiennes was great.
Oh, I was going to say, I mean, Ray Fiennes, would you call him the lead of this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well,
See,
no.
that's the thing. Is like I think maybe that's another issue I had with the. I wasn't.
You know what
sure
the problem
whose
is?
movie it
Whose
was.
movie it is?
Yeah.
That is a problem.
Yeah.
But I think it's really, you know what? That might be a performance issue,
Yeah.
right? A stronger Richard Goodwin
Yeah.
might have stolen focus,
Yeah.
but the Richard Goodwin character was weaker.
Yeah.
I think because of Rob Morrow's performance, and I think that changes where you think the story is.
Right.
I think that's part of it.
Yeah.
I
do feel like
Van Dorn has a stronger story.
Yeah, I do feel like he's the character of change.
They both change, but
See, I agree when I hear you say that.
right. But I think that's
watching
the
movie-
performance.
yeah, exactly.
I think that's
Exactly.
the performance.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the script.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's well, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it's Van Dorn's story.
Yeah.
But what's confusing, I think Rob Morrow's performance really just confuses the issue. But if they said to if you talk to the people who made the movie and they said no, it's this guy.
Yeah.
It's the Van Dorn character. I would agree that he ends up being the lead.
Right.
I would agree that happened. So if
Yeah.
they did that on purpose, that worked. right.
Right.
But I agree with you that there is a lack of now. Some people don't understand that's, or they don't see that that's a thing, right? So they'll talk about ensemble pieces, right?
Yeah.
Like it's a million people's story,
Yeah.
and there's a Patty Chayefsky interview where he talks about this, and he Patty Chayefsky, I don't know how many Oscars that guy won, but Marty. He wrote Marty.
Yeah.
He wrote Marty. But he was very articulate about about story structure and how it worked, and very articulate about how drama worked and what drama was, and had a very sort of rigid. I don't want to say. I mean, it's a lot like my own, but pretty rigid idea of what made stories work.
Yeah.
And in one interview, he talks about this, and he goes, well, you can't even get two writers to agree on what a story is. So talking about the rules of it are really, really weird. And he goes, there are certain basic things that seem to be universal or something like that. I'm paraphrasing.
Yeah.
But he goes, you can violate those rules without losing the audience's attention. He goes, but there's one thing I know for sure, and that is drama is about one person.
Yeah.
I found that interesting. It was the only thing he was definite about. And I think that's true, and those stories really seem to work the best. It doesn't mean you can't have other people. It doesn't mean other people can't contribute to the story. But there's one person, one character whose story it really is, and I would say that is a bit of a weakness with the script.
Yeah.
But overall, I would give it a passing grade. I think it's pretty
Yeah.
good, but I don't know if I'd give it an A+, but I would give it an A.
Yeah.
A strong A.
Yeah.
It doesn't, or at least a B+.
Yeah.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so Redford, director, best picture. I'm guessing you're probably going to throw this in your list of nominations this year. You get 5 nominations.
Yeah,
so.
I'm sure it'll be in there.
Yeah.
It'll be in there.
Yeah.
I thought he did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of Redford directing things I like very much.
Yeah.
And I can't think. Did he direct Jeremiah Johnson? Or was that
No, that was Pollock.
Pollock, yeah. What else has he directed? I keep thinking.
Brubaker.
Oh, yeah, Brubaker.
Ordinary People.
Ordinary People. That's right.
an episode of Alf.
Yeah. Oh, that was a good one, actually.
It was.
Some of the best work. No, you know, I tend to not be that big a fan of his directing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now I think about it.
Yeah.
Like, I watched Ordinary People again. I know it got a lot of praise. And I think Mary Tyler Moore is amazing in it. So I like his directing of actors, I guess.
Yeah.
But his stories seem to fall apart.
Yeah.
Yeah. He doesn't seem to be hip on what a story is. I mean, he's now he's going to not invite me to Sundance. But
Again.
But I think so. I think that's where he doesn't shine there. But I think he can get good performances. I mean, Mary Tyler Moore, who was known for she was a comedian. She wasn't known for being, you know, and she's kind of amazing in Ordinary People.
Yeah.
But when I watched it again, I was like, no wonder I don't remember this movie, because there's sort of nothing. It's you can't have subtext without context.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a movie that's all subtext and no context.
Yeah. Anything else about this movie before we wrap it up?
No, I would say that the things you said make sense to me.
Yeah.
Where it's where it is unfocused makes sense to me. But I would say overall, I thought it was pretty clean. It knew what it was about. I love the writing of the subtext. I love the I didn't have the same problem with the cinematography, but I get it.
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty well done. I wish Rob Morrow had found another movie to make that year, and you know what I mean. I just don't
very diplomatic.
I just don't want to. I don't. You know. I mean, there's no reason to slam the guy. I just don't think he fits in the movie.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. He can knock my movie one day.
All right. Well, you've got your blog, which is
the Invisible Ink blog,
and you know what? I looked up your Twitter account, so we can tell people what it really is.
Yeah,
it's BMacD1950.
Oh, right.
But it's BEEMACDEE 1950.
Yep.
Well, thanks again, Brian.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
If you want more information about the 2020 Awards, you can visit our website at 2020awards.org. You can follow us on Twitter at 2020 Awards, or like us on Facebook at the 2020 Awards. If you enjoyed the show today, please give us a nice rating over at the iTunes. And until next time, remember, it's never too late to start thinking about the past.